all the things. But for each of you, you're gonna take what you can apply for your role and put it on your chart. And let me just tell you, it's probably more than you think. You need to be knowing and understanding more than what you think you need to know, because it's gonna help you be a better teammate to your other teammates if you understand how your role fits in the context of everybody else's. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I'm gonna just recommend that you use at least 2 colors. I know that sounds crazy. You can use 1 color. I have done it before. The first time I started marking charts, I used 1 single color, but then my chart was a hot mess because I had cues about everything all over the place and I could not figure it out. I was like, where are the band cues? I don't know. So this is me reminding you, you may wanna take, depending on your role, you might wanna make cues for music stuff and tech stuff in 2 different colors. Or maybe it's vocals and band, or maybe it's track stuff and cues, or whatever else. But so I'm gonna pass around, this sits on my desk every week, every day. It's my favorite. I just ordered new ones. If you can't tell, green is my favorite. There's like 20 of them in here. If it's a new pen, it has a little stopper on the end that you're gonna have to pop off because they just came today. But if you would like a multicolor, there is a black pen in the back of your chair. I'm gonna pass these around and you can grab another color because you might want another color. So can you pass them around? Okay. And we're gonna go through the chart. And I'm gonna do it with you real time. I was a little bit like, oh man, I was hoping we weren't introing this song until like at least next week because I wasn't gonna even mark a chart ahead of time, but I had to because I had to be prepared for tonight. So I have marked this chart before, but we're gonna go through all the things tonight. So tonight I'm gonna use 4 different colors for myself. I know you're like,
told us 2.
You probably for each of your roles might only need 2. If you need an extra one, you can. I'm gonna mark, if you look at Mark's charts in Planning Center, vocal cues are usually in pink. So that's what I have the pink for. The band cues are usually in blue. If we're using tracks, I will mark that in green. And then I have purple because I'm gonna show you something extra because who else doesn't have anything tricky timing wise? But how many of you know Zeal does? So this is Zeal and we're gonna mark the timing of some of these sections here in just a minute. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. So we're gonna listen to the song in real time and we're just gonna go through it together. And this applies for everyone. I know especially if you're on the tech team, you're probably thinking, I'm not a musician. You don't have to understand how to play any of this, that's okay. But you are gonna use a skill called active listening. Does anybody know the difference between active and passive listening?
Yes.
What is it?
That active is you listen to learn.
Uh-huh.
Passive, you just listen.
Okay. What are you doing when you do each one?
Active listening, you're actually sitting down and like tuning into what's
Yes.
happening.
Active listening is when you are sitting with your chart or your music in front of you with 0 distractions and it's like the main thing, right? Passive listening is I put the music on and I'm driving or I'm folding laundry or I'm doing the dishes at the same time or I'm texting somebody, or you can passively listen all week long. That's awesome. But I can't tell you how many times I've had people show up on a Thursday and be like, I listened to the songs 500 times this week. And I'm like, you did? But they can't tell me when the drums come in. And I'm like, you didn't actively listen. You just passively listened to what was happening. And so I'm going to show you the difference. It's going to take you some time the first time that you do a song. But I'm telling you, it's like making deposits in a bank account. It's sacrificial, and you're gonna be like, man, this is costly. It is, but David said I wouldn't bring worship that's not costly, amen? And so this is part of what we do on this team. And then once you've made that deposit, you're only gonna have to refresh, right? Because the interest is gonna compound for you, and you'll be able to make withdrawals on that every once in a while. Got it? So here we go. All right, so we're gonna play just from the top. And George was like, don't you wanna play it through the house? It'll sound better. It probably would. But then I can't have like quick control over all the things and it's gonna take a lot longer. So just bear with me, okay? All right. Does everybody have their pen already?
Yes.
Or not yet? We're going slow picking colors. All right.
Just start.
Just take 2,
Okay.
it's okay. All right, so here we go. Before I mark this chart, I gave you a number chart. If you are a musician or a vocalist, force yourself to use the number chart, especially when you're marking the chart. You're never gonna learn numbers if you don't just get into it. I know it's intimidating to start, just make yourself do it. You're gonna struggle the first few times, but then eventually your brain's gonna pick up on it. There's no better way to eat an elephant in the room except for one bite at a time. So I need to let myself know, I'm serious, I need to tell myself, what key is this in? What key are we doing it in? Because for any given week, this could change, right? Next week when we do this song, we're doing it in E. So next week when I mark the chart, I'm gonna write the key of E at the top, because when I practice at home on my piano, I don't wanna play it in G.
And then the next week we're doing it in F.
Hey, and then we're doing it in F, you guys. Yuka said you should learn the song in every key. Okay, so what key is it in?
G.
It's in F. Oh, I'm sorry. For
G.
tonight it's in G, you're right.
Free.
Okay, tonight we're in G. Okay?
You gotta zoom in.
What does that say?
Right. This also, okay, I wrote down Marissa's leading the song so that I know that. I almost wrote Sarah, and then I was like, no, Sarah's
you
leading
did
whole heart.
write Sarah.
I did, I started.
Yeah, let's be clear.
And we're not using tracks for this song. Okay? So I made that mental note to myself. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody listen, tell me what you hear happen. Let me start over.
Whoa.
What do you hear? What do you hear? Pads. There's no other instrument playing. So guess what? I'm gonna get my blue. That's my color system. Is yeah. There's a breath.
There's
So
a
the
lead.
intro, it's just pads to start. Okay. What else changed? Something else happened. Keys came in at the verse. Yeah. Keys gets added. A lot of times I'll do plus to let myself know that something changed. Does this?
Whole notes.
Did you EQ the speaker?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, so let's start over again. Pads.
I am an instrument of exaltation.
Just one person right here.
I was born to lift the
So the
name
lead.
above all names. You hear the melody of all creation.
How you may not, if you're on tech, you might not need to know this, but band, how are keys playing?
Whole notes.
Thank you.
We need to know this tech. Whole notes.
But that makes a difference when we get to a different section of a song. If you listen to Whole Heart, one of the reasons we don't build that pre-chorus correctly is because everybody just keeps trucking and playing at a lower dynamic, when really half of the instruments drop out and some of the other instruments just strum the sixth at the beginning of the progression. So if you're listening, you'll be able to create that dynamic better with your team. Does that make sense? I know I'm like trucking through this, but you guys, you're still tracking, right? Okay, good, good, good. Okay, so these are whole notes. It's very open. It feels very ethereal.
But there's a song of praise that only I can bring. Who else is worthy?
What happened? So before the drums. No,
Well, the electric started kicking in.
no, listen.
That's a lot of no's there.
You hear the melody
Listen.
of all creation. But there's a song of praise that only I can bring. Who else is worthy?
What do you hear?
Something.
I mean, piano stops.
BGVs come in on melody. They started singing that with them unison. There's no parts yet.
What?
Listen. What?
Names. You hear the melody of all creation. But there's a song of praise that only I can bring. Who else is worthy?
Drums.
Who else is worthy?
It's really the full band joins, but how are they playing?
Still very open.
It's still very open. It's like whole notes. There's a little bit of like snare rim stuff happening, but it's still
Toms.
very open. Sorry, Toms.
There is no one, only
I'm gonna add plus. This is the full band, is how I would write this. You can write it however you want to, right? But it's still open, right? Whole notes.
Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy?
As a sound engineer, what do you hear most at the front?
Pads.
The lead.
The pads, the lead, and there's one other instrument I'm picking out.
Toms.
Not even the toms. They're happening, but there's an electric something happening through there.
There is no one, only you, Jesus.
Do you hear it? Yeah? the vocalist, if I'm leading this song, did you catch something that happened at the end of that chorus into verse 2?
No, do it again.
You want to hear it again? Jason, do it.
There is no one, only you, Jesus. You are the end.
What happens for the lead?
It's not pausing.
There is zero pause, right? So if I'm leading this song, or if I need to know how it goes, you know what I'm gonna write there? Because usually there's some kind of interlude or like a bar of something or a turnaround. You know what I'm gonna write? I literally, you can look at my charts, I do this. I go like this, and I will write, quick! Because I know, hey, it's right away. You better take a breath, right?
God of the ages.
Okay, now this verse feels different than the first one. Why?
Snare roll.
There's full drums now. We're in like this full groove.
Okay, I'm drumming this one.
It's called a snare roll.
It's the full team. And I honestly, unless someone asks me specifically what they're doing, it's your responsibility as an instrumentalist to know your exact part. I'm not going through and gonna like quiz you on what part you're supposed to play or not play. But if there's something notable, I'm gonna write that down. So right here, what I'm hearing is just that like the full team is like in this full groove, right?
Yeah, you chose to make my heart your dwelling place. You healed my brokenness, showed me.
Vocals came in on that line halfway through. So here, I'm gonna do plus BGVs. And we may adjust whether that's in parts or not, but
So I have songs of things not even angels sing. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy?
okay, so the second repeated chorus builds, yeah?
Yes.
So for the vocal, the second time, it's an octave jump. Okay? That's what that's called when they jump up high. What? The tempo did not change. They just played like double what they were playing. So it feels like it's starting to drive a little bit because instead of playing on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, now they're playing it double that rate. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's still the same tempo. It's just kicked into gear a little bit more, right? And that I might write something like that, like kick it in.
That's where marking a chart, it's dependent on what you're on. Because for me
Correct.
as a drummer, none of this helps me.
Yeah.
I need to change what I'm writing, or like as an MD, as a keyboardist.
Yes. If you've ever seen, if you're a drummer, Chris Garcia on Instagram is a great like just account to follow. He shows you how he marks his charts like in his phone, but he will write like, hey, verse 1, and he will write like tom tom snare kick, like it, like he'll write out the patterns of what that is. Same with anybody on like you. There's so many resources available to us this day and age. There's no reason for you to not know how to do some of what you need to do. Yeah. Okay. You hear the harmony part? The guy's singing it in that up octave. What'd I just do? Till what?
Till you
So the
sing.
vocal comes in, because if typically I gotta know when they're singing what, even if I'm not leading the song, I need to know like when does this happen, right? If I gotta lead the team through it, or when does the progression start? Band, you need to know that you're playing through the bridge progression, right? And you'd have to do that by listening to the song and playing along with it. But I just counted out those beats, right? So this is how many bars
8.
till she starts singing. So if we're playing with tracks, that cue is gonna come right here. Bridge, 2, 3, 4, right? If we're in 4/4. Okay? So first time. Okay, so halfway through, okay? Right here, the band, this right here, the drums,
Jamming.
they're like kicked in right here, right? This first time, everybody's still on that like whole note situation. And the drums are doing it's like a rim situation, right? It's like a snare roll on the rim so you can kind of hear, right? I'm gonna go back and play it for you again. But then they really kick in and start playing on the snare when we get to that second. And you'll hear the electric begins to pick up. It's not quite driving yet all the way. That felt the same to me, that third time through, if you want to call it that, right? They do that portion. But then when they get to this next half, at Righteous One, the thing is trucking, yeah?
Driving,
because of the last time I marked the chart. But if you didn't know, you'd be like, oh, they broke. Let me go back and count it. And you'd have to restart right there, right? So right here, they break on the 3. Okay? And then what are the vocalists doing? We might need to go back and re-listen. What were they doing? Does anybody know? They are when it's built. When it starts, they're in unison. So if I was going to write on here this first time through, this first time through would be unison, right? And then once we get to this driving space, this is probably where I would add the parts. Now, here's a question I get all the time from people who are new on our team as vocalists. So David, here you go, this is free. Ready? I have had so many people when they join the team go, hey, there's a part recorded for the bridge. It only does it one time on the recording. Do we sing it all 3 times or just one of the times? Should I practice for all 3 of the times or just one of the times? Practice all of it. And then when you get here, if I say, hey, you don't need to sing a harmony for that. Okay, cool. I don't got to do the extra work right there. But you, again, it's that making deposits because you're going to be able to know that information earlier and be able to, if someone says to you, if you practice all 3 of them that way, when you get here, if we jump into that section from somewhere else in the song, you're just going to know what your part is for that section. If you go, I need 3 bridges to finally get into my part, you're missing it. Does that make sense? We want to be so prepared that if we just threw a bridge, and if we did verse 1, then I was like, hey, actually, let's go to a bridge now. Would you be able to just, Lamb of God, anointed one? Or would you be like, oh, I need to do 2 bridges in unison first. I can't get to that part. Like, that's not actually being prepared. All of our instrumentalists have to be able to do that. We in ministry time, and you need to be thinking about, how would I do this high and how would I do this low? In ministry moments, the band often, this bridge, we practice giant. But let's say during ministry time, while people are being prayed for, we got to keep that moment low. Okay, so maybe the soprano part now isn't all the way on the top. Maybe the soprano is the tenor now on the bottom to keep that moment a little bit more dynamically sound. Does that make sense? We got to be thinking about that. That's another thing that I mark on my charts is, what is the biggest part of the song? For me in this one, I would probably say right here and this chorus. This is the giant part of the song. This is like level 10 all out. So I need to be thinking about, on the way to there, how am I getting to that point? Because I don't want to start at a 10. I don't want to do the first chorus at a 10. I don't want to do chorus 2 at a 10 or the first bridge at a 10. I want to build up into that point. Does that make sense? So that the progression of the song does one of these. And if we trash can, it just kind of fades out like this. And if not, the moment comes back down and we transition into the next piece. Does that make sense? Okay. I also want to, this is for everybody, something else I do, especially if you're new on the team, but this is really helpful even for me when I'm trying to be quick on something. I will go through and mark each section of the song, because I need to be able to cue these sections to you guys and know that I'm throwing the right cue, right? So if you're here from Worship Academy, we use some hand signals. David, you're gonna get to know this also. 1 is a verse, 2 is a pre-chorus if the song has it, 3 is a chorus, bridge, tag or refrain, and the end of the song, right? So I will actually go through and go like this and go, this is a 1, this is a 3, this section is a 1, these are 3s, this is a 4. Because on some songs, if there's a tag and a refrain, but no pre-chorus, I might need to relabel those for myself and communicate with the MD and go, hey, the refrain and the tag, to be able to communicate which one's which. When I sing like, you are good, king of my heart, right? Everybody know that? Let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails. There's no pre-chorus in that song, but there's like 700 tags. So I'm looking at the progressions going, okay, these two are the same. So I can pick which lyrics I'm gonna sing, but to get to this musical progression, I'm gonna throw you a 5. So I might mark on Nico and go, hey, when we're gonna do that refrain or the tag, I'm gonna throw you a 5. That's the 6, 1, 5, 4 progression. And if you're not sure what numbers are, this is what I'm talking about. The verse progression is 1, 5, 6, 5, 4. See that? That's what those numbers are. So if you hear us like talking about that tech, that's what that is, okay? So the chorus of this song, 1, 2, 6, 4. 1, 2, 6, 4. See the pattern? Okay? A lot of modern worship music, there are portions of the song that can overlap into another piece of music. And we'll talk about that another day. But for this scenario, I need to know, how are we going to communicate each section of the song to the team? And so if you see like hand signals by whoever's leading, right, a 1, I often will put the 1 down at my side. If you're on Pro Presenter, you're going to know right away, she's going to the verse. Get ready, here it comes, right? Or sometimes I'll throw a 3, or maybe you won't see the 3, who knows, it depends on what hand I'm signaling with. But that can help you even before the MD calls it to know where we're going. So I will actually mark things like that on the chart. What else? I also, for sound purposes, one of the other things I'll do, so we've got, you guys know, like the multi-tracks resources for the band. That's a paid resource. So if you're ever listening to resources on Planning Center and you hear, what does it say? Multi-track not found or something like error.
Content
not found.
Please
right?
contact your multi-track.
Please contact your multi-tracks like administrator. Cool. We pay for those resources. There's only so many seats on that bus, if you will. And so I'm happy to pay for it for those who are utilizing it. It's not that important if you're not an instrumentalist. So if you don't have access, it's not because I hate you. It's just because it's church money that goes towards that. And so some positions are not needed to have that. When you're listening to a song, even for mixing, the original is great because you don't necessarily have to know exactly what the acoustic's doing right here. You just need to know that the lead and the pad are what's critical. So that might be how you mark this. It's like pad and lead are the only thing here. And then electric starts, so I'm gonna add some electric. That's what's memorable and what's noticeable. And if it wasn't there, it would make a difference. And then I will try, I don't always mark my chart this way, but in my mind I'm thinking about this. What instrument is leading this song? There's a vocalist leading this song, but typically in our songs, there's an instrument that is like forward and present. Maybe it's two, but that also helps me in my mix in my ears to go, I need to make sure I can hear that thing, or else like it's off. I'm not knowing what's happening. And if that thing's not there, for example, in Whole Heart this week, okay? If that electric riff at the top of the song, da 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 da, you guys know it? How's it go? Da 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 da. Okay, so that you know the song as soon as it starts by that. That is called a motif. It's not just a lead line. It is the thing that makes that song that song. And if it's missing, I'm gonna notice. The room's gonna notice. They're gonna be like, that ain't Whole Heart. That was half a heart, right? So when you're listening, it's not as critical for you to match exactly what the multi-tracks player is playing, though that can be very helpful. But it is important that you go, what do I have to play here? And what can I be creative about? Does that make sense? Because there are pieces that are critical, and then there's pieces it's not so important. Does that make sense? Okay. One of the other things, I'm just making sure that if you struggle with numbers and you're like, hey, Bree, I'm never gonna be able to do this. A really great thing you can do, pick a different color, print the chart in numbers, and then write the numbers in. So we're in G. So I would go through and right next to the number, I'm gonna start writing all of the things in here. So the 6 minor in the key of G is what?
E. Oh, sorry.
Caleb? E minor? Look at Caleb. Okay. The 5 is the what? D. The 4 is the. All the tech people are like, wait, what? If you're good at math, look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only ever 8 notes in the key. So we're in G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if the number is written there and that's the key we're in, if we're in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Now all the tech people have just unlocked music theory. Have fun with that, okay? Okay, lastly is I want to show you timing, how I would mark timing, because this song doesn't have anything that's syncopated, other than that like break on the 3, which is pretty simple for our teams. Not a big deal. But then when we start syncopating stuff, it can get a little bit tricky. And this is why sometimes we will have like a counting resource in some songs. But often, and you guys know this about me, my strength is not the timing situation, yeah? So this week, literally, I remarked it this week. Often I will save my chart, so I don't have to redo the work, and I can re-reference it. Okay, so this is Zeal, okay? So, Zeal, go back to the original key. I'm gonna have to pull up your planning center here in a second. Here's what I would do, okay? First, I'm gonna write out the measures. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And if you're not good at it like me,
You had to do shit.
if you're not good at it like me, you need to do this with a pencil. If you look at my chart from this week, I have pencil lines because I had to erase and do it again, and erase and do it again. Okay? One and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 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 and 2. So where's the first one fall? 1. On the 1. Let's listen again. Everybody listen. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Do you hear? The band all chimes the chord at that point. Tech, this is not as important for you. Okay?
Remember that, guys.
So it starts on the 1. Okay? Then we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna start the intro back over. Now, it can get a little bit muddy because there's a lot going on here. This is where, as a band member,
Jesus on Sundays.
Yeah. If we go to Zeal.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Which, before I do that, one of the other things is if we're using tracks often, if I need to make sure that I know what those cues are, I will write the name of the cue that the girl says before that section, because sometimes she says something like vamp, and I'm like, wait, what? Right? And you're like, what? Or she says turnaround, and we call it an interlude, and we're working to clarify that. Kiara and I even today had a conversation about it with Whole Heart, which we'll get to later. But one of the, so I'll mark her cues, but then you'll see on my Zeal chart that I marked right here in green, I literally put the default arrangement. It's just written out, right? So that I know they do the vamp 4 times, the intro 2 times, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, refrain twice, interlude, verse 2. And that way, if I need to edit that, I can cross out what we're not doing to communicate with everybody. Hey, we're not doing the vamp 4 times. We're only doing it once this week, which we're not. We're doing it all 4 this week. Yes, still. Yeah.
On the header, there's like the structure of the song.
Yeah.
You guys, have you guys gone through that? Is it accurate?
That is based off the multi-track resource.
Okay.
So that's like the default,
Yeah.
unless we were to edit something. But typically that stays whatever the default of the track is. So yes, that's a great question. Did everybody understand what he's talking about? Mm-hmm. At the top of your chart up here, there's like a intro 2 times, verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus, interlude, verse 2, pre-chorus. It spells it out up here, whatever the default track arrangement is. Yeah, tech, that's a great, like, just cheat code, unless we change something. Okay, so this is the base multi-track.
Vamp.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1
Vamp.
and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I gotta count from the beginning or I lose it, right? And 3 and 4 and 1
Vamp.
and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and here it
Intro.
comes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and do you hear those?
Intro.
Now you can count them. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Did you hear that? On the and the 4.
Verse.
I switched colors. Pausing. Sorry, I just kept seeing your finger.
Does your guide track this week say intro?
It does.
So in order for lights, they could actually hear intro
Yeah.
and know that it's coming.
Yep. The vamp
Cool.
happens 4 times and then it goes to the intro. Yes. But did you hear where that bass comes in? So this is how I would mark like timing so that I know where it's coming. It's on the and or the 2 or the 3 or the... And when I do this, I just need you to know I have to go through it like 50 times to make sure it's right? And then I might think I have it and I'll listen again and be like, oh, you missed that one, Bree. Do it again. Does that make sense? Does anybody know the rest?
It's the same thing.
Of the song?
The timing of the... What is it?
It's the same.
It is the same. Oh, you like what? Okay. What about for the bridge? It's not the same on the bridge. The bridge is different. The chorus is different. We're about out of time, so I'm not going to do it with you right now. I have it written down if you need it, right? But take the time to go through it. So now, we've gone through this with who else, right? In depth. Watch when you play tonight. There's a lot of people on our team, I would say it's like 50-50, who do this on their own. And the first time we learn a new song, this is why it takes time to learn a new song, because not only are you learning your part, but you're learning how it sits in the context of the song. But then once you've done that, every time you do that song, if you've got that marked chart, you know exactly how it goes and you're just getting a refresher. You're gonna have to sit and listen to it again at least once through, but then you're gonna know how it goes. And if I say, hey, you know that build bridge? You know that part where they break down? You're gonna be like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because I looked at the whole thing really detailed. Everybody tracking? Yeah. Any questions about marking charts? Mm-hmm. Anything that you're like, how would you do this? Or...
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yeah?
The only thing I would add to that is I think every instrument will remember the parts, adding like the rhythm. So like for example, keys, whole notes, and then at one point the drums goes to half. Does the keys go to half notes? And I think that would be really, really cool to have when we do that. So we're super precise, not just on the structure, but how we fit the structure.
Well, that is going to be dependent on your specific role. So, for example,
Like when we go through the songs.
yes,
I think it'd be great.
100%. Yep. Same thing when I can just tell you this from, we've had, when we have different instrumentalists who come in, you might think you're going under the radar because like, oh, she doesn't know if I did or didn't practice and I can just play through this. But I literally make a mental note, and you can maybe tell based off the team who's playing and if their skill level is at a certain degree, because I will write more drum cues if I know the drummer's not going to practice what they should practice that week, and I'm going to need to tell them when the snare comes in, or when it's the tom stuff, or when it's the kick on the 2 and the 4. Does that make sense? And I might write down, hey, so-and-so doesn't play right here because I know they're going to play the whole time, and I'm going to have to tell them to knock it off. I'm serious, because a lot of times, and this is the same for, this is in the tech space, this is true too. You might not write down when the drums come in, but you might write down when my first cue, my second cue, my third cue happen in the song. That's why we give you the charts, so that you can go through and on a Thursday night make those notes. Make your notes on a Monday when you get the song list. You can listen to it, and then if something changes, I have studied the snot out of that song, and I can, okay, we're getting rid of that instrumental, great, so it's gonna come a little bit faster this time, and I can put an extra that part of the song. Does that make sense? Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm excited. We're gonna pray, and then